Welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave, and we are a podcast dedicated to, of course, geek culture and many hyped-up TV shows. And speaking of which, this discussion today is a very much immensely hyped TV show all over the world, The Young Pope, starring Jude Law. And we'll discuss, of course, the confusing plot, the premise, the hype towards that, and give our views of that show. Of course, my name is Glen. I am Dagos Rivers from the podcast Ice and Fire forums, and I am joined by...
This is Adam, also known as drownedsnow on the forums.
This is Jock, also known as Munlo Jock 2 on the forums.
So this show started out with... Well, in fact, I heard about it around June time, I think, but it was also going to be launched at the same time as Westworld, but I was more interested in Westworld compared to this. But this one did have a lot of good things going for it as well on paper. So you had two A-list actors, Jude Law and Diane Keaton. It had been written by I can't remember his name, but he won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film at the Oscars a few years ago. It was also the first show, so in the UK, Sky launched a new product called Sky Q, where you could watch Ultra HD content. So this is the first show that they produced entirely in ultra high definition. So a lot of great things going for it. What compelled you to watch The Young Pope?
Well, I mean, it was just bizarre as hell, right?
It is.
The
Sure.
trailers and everything. So I guess it was different here. I didn't realize that it aired like overseas before. So because I guess they pushed Westworld a lot harder here, and then like kind of after maybe halfway into the season on Westworld, they started like showing teasers for this.
Oh yeah.
And then we didn't get it until January, I think. And I was just like, and it looked like, ooh, it's going to be like some egomaniacal pope, like trying to take over the world or something. It looked interesting. So
I was really hoping that it would be a modern day version of the Borgias, but it was not at all like that show.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I think it was around December that the Young Pope ended in the UK, but it had been shown in Italy a few weeks before. And it was this weird thing where, depending on the country, it was a different number of episodes. So in the UK it was 9 episodes in total, but in Italy it was 11 episodes.
Now, is it the same runtime? Like, were the episodes just different lengths?
Different lengths, so it was edited in a different way. So like in the UK, the first episode was a 2-hour-long special, and then each week it was 1 hour each week, but in Italy it must have been 1 hour each week, and they just had a longer run of the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe
so at the end of the season, like, what did I watch?
I was sort of thinking it was sort of like Annie, but in the Vatican, because it incorporated like the story of Lenny being an orphan wanting to find his parents, and he finally sees his parents. Or, well, you have that story as well where it's like the fake parents trying to pretend to be his parents.
Or are they? Or I don't know. The whole thing's weird.
I know.
I mean, like, we're supposed to believe that was, someone brought fake parents, but was it just he didn't want to see them as his parents because he was disappointing? I mean, they didn't. A lot of things were kind of left, up to interpretation.
The final episode as well. When I watched it, I just thought he had died, so I didn't realize that he just fainted, or it was open to interpretation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it seemed like he died, but then, yeah, I mean, the way it was cut, and there's no like funeral or, it could be. I mean, you could play that a lot of ways, I guess. Like if let's say they were going to do another episode or like like a little movie or something to wrap things up, like that could go a bunch of ways if they really wanted it to. But I think maybe that's partially, I mean, what the show did was, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like they had a concept of just like, Jude Law wanted to do it, and he's the Pope, and and I think they maybe got the first couple episodes like down as like the idea, and then didn't really know where to go from there, maybe. Because it seems like they were planting the seeds in those early episodes of like, oh, maybe he is kind of, gonna be like a shady pope or something, but nope.
And my thoughts with the initial few episodes is like it would be this thing where they would just plant all the seeds of him being, horrible for the Vatican, for the image, for marketing, and then they all plot to kill him, but then it never goes in that direction either.
Oh, they plot to kill someone else, maybe.
Oh yeah.
That's not really confirmed either.
Most of it is plotting, it's just bad plotting.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed they didn't really get anywhere at the end. Like they didn't know what like message they wanted to send at the end, or I mean, maybe that's kind of the message, kind of leaving things up to interpretation and leaving things very
Well, the message is weird with the whole
non-corporeal.
Yeah, and also the whole Lenny being a conservative, homophobe, Islamophobe, yet God seems to be on his side.
Yeah, I mean, like they have a lot of threads that they sort of half pull. Like like just the fact that he got elected, we don't really know how he became pope, and he talks about, it was the Cardinal Secretary of State. Like, oh yes, I made that happen, but then he's in secret he's like, I don't know, I think it was the Holy Spirit, and then that sort of just gets dropped.
Yeah, there's no real payoff to that, because I thought that was what they were setting up with all the early scenes of Lenny in his youth, and then it would be fast forward and it would give you a backstory of how he actually did become elected.
Yeah, like maybe they would actually show in one of the episodes how that all went down. I mean, they're also fairly vague about his like position and status before becoming pope, and we know like where he was kind of, but we don't know how he was viewed. I mean, it somehow he becomes pope, and like most people just didn't seem to even know who he was really. Like, all I know is that there's white smoke when the pope gets elected. I mean, I know there's like a whole group of people that get together and decide a pope, but I don't know the ins and outs of how that works. So, like, why was he even there, or why would he have been nominated?
And I understand, Adam, that it was shown in 2 episodes a night in America.
Yeah, like we got it, and I know like the first 2 episodes were back to back, and then the next week I think there was another 2 episodes, and they piled up on my DVR after the first few, and then I caught back up on them, and there's just it's been so busy. I wasn't watching like anything at all for a couple of weeks, just didn't have any time. And this especially, like I have to sit down and watch it because of all the subtitles. I can't like drift in and out like some shows. Like I can have it on in the background and still enjoy it. But I mean, I thought that the cast was great, and there were definitely some significant commentaries to be had, on the church and some of the things they've done, the way they act, and all that. But like I mean, like the homosexuality thing, it was like back and forth about I don't know, like how bad they were investigating the guy in New York, was it? And they were trying to get him. That's terrible. And the abuse of children. This is terrible. And then they're like, we're gonna entrap people that are gonna become priests, and then they're killing themselves. And you're just like, what? Like, what are they trying to say? I don't know. So I don't know. Did you expect that it was gonna end up somewhere? Like he's finally greeting these people, and I'm like, either he's gonna perform like a miracle and it's gonna become this like fantastical thing, or he's gonna declare war, or I don't know. Like it built up, and then it was very.
I know.
He has this nice speech, and then he just passes out, and it's kind of like,
Well, in the UK, it was. So you had the 2-hour episodes first week, and then you had 1 hour each week after that, and I knew it was running for 8 weeks, so I thought that the episode where they discover all the love letters and like he walks away, like I thought that was the end of the show, that he just abandoned his post. But then
like that's the turning point, and
then I thought, oh, right. I still don't understand the ending, but then I realised, oh, there's actually an episode in 5 minutes time, the final episode.
Yeah, because that felt like kind of like a period, and then but I had them all, lined up, so I knew there was another one, and then right away it's like, oh, these love letters from the Pope, and it's this beautiful thing, and like, okay, where is this going? The poor kangaroo died. That was upsetting. But I mean, so what was with him and the like the captain of the guard or whatever, like the wife? Like they were like, she was barren, he's infertile, and then she's like, because they show us in a lot of like dream sequences and such, so you can't ever really be sure of what's going on in a scene, if it really happened or if something else happened, like.
If you really dropped that baby.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I had to laugh. That was hilarious when he dropped the baby. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And then so they just left. They up and left the Vatican because they were creeped out by him or something. So. Was it a miracle did he like bless her and she had a child, or did they have some affair that you don't see? That's like, it's confusing.
I think that's the I've forgotten his name. That the guy that doesn't like him because he wanted to be Pope. He says something like that, doesn't he? That he implies that they had sex. That's how this miracle happened. Not that he's somehow blessed. And like allowed her to have children through a blessing.
Yeah, but there's no real evidence to that other than that making the most sense, in the real world, and them kind of moving away, him spending so much time with the family, etc. But then when they get that evidence on him, when he's like groping her, and he's like, oh, he gives such a beautiful speech, and we can't use this evidence, and because he's such a holy man, he would never do that. And so I don't know. Maybe he just knows he's being watched. Like, I thought there was going to be a scene where he's like, I know you've been, like, they weren't hiding themselves very well with that giant camera.
What were your opinions of the show when you watched the first episode?
I was pretty excited. I was like, yeah, this is going to be interesting, right?
It was sort of like the reverse for me. So I watched the 2 hour episode and sort of like drifted off after about 40 minutes and just like sort of slogged through the rest of it. So I just didn't get what was happening, didn't really...
Yeah, I only watched the first one, the first time I watched it. Yeah. Like I said, about the third episode is where I was kind of like, I'll get back to this later.
I know,
but I mean...
It is heavy going as well, the show. It's like, when you watch it, you have to focus and like use a lot of your brain
you really
power.
have to pay attention to what you're seeing and what they're saying, and like, is what you're seeing what's actually going on sometimes. And I thought that like the first episode wasn't, like some sort of big thrill ride or anything, but I was like, oh man, they're setting stuff up. Like the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes, wherever it was. It seemed like they were laying a lot of groundwork for things. I'm like, okay, this is gonna build up to something, And I don't know. I mean, there were definitely some like I said, some interesting commentaries, I think, on just humanity in general and religion, whatnot. But like, you don't need to know, like the sister in Africa that was running all the safe houses or whatever they were, and he like prays and she dies. Like, you don't need to know if that's got really, if he did that or if he had someone kill her with the water, or like, well, like whatever. Like, you don't have to like answer questions like that. I don't know. I just assumed, it seemed like he had an agenda, right? And he's this young pope, and he's going to have an agenda. And I kind of wanted it to at least end with something like, all right, now I'm talking to the world, and this is what I'm going to do, and or we're some sort of pivot, and that's fine. You can just assume what happens after that, but it was just like everybody's smiling, and then he kind of sees his parents, and is all of this just been like a brain tumor? Or maybe it's like a Jacob's Ladder scenario. I don't know.
And throughout the last episode, I was thinking, right, it's finally here. Hopefully, I'm sure I posted something as well on Facebook about it, that after all of this, hopefully it ends in a good way.
You're like, it dragged, but it's about to pay off. I think other than Pope Pius's story was like the least satisfying in some ways because of how erratic, and it's like you like him one minute, the next minute you're like, this guy's just kind of gross. But like some of the side stories were interesting, like with his adopted brother and then how that ended up. Just like
stories of story thing.
The what?
Sister Melee and the mole guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like my favourite moments of the series, like episode 6, 7, and 8. I think like sort of in the middle when it was, he gets involved with the guy that commits suicide, and then later on he gets murdered as well by the gang that. The mobster guy.
the Brazilian drug lord or whatever. Which is, I mean, he just like walked right into it, and so I thought maybe something else would happen, but no, he was just like, I can't. He's like, look, you fucked my wife. I can't let that go. So, which I thought was funny because he was, the speech he gave about how he was like, if I refused to give communion, I didn't do that. I didn't, he was like, I didn't really do my job here. Preaching against evil, and like the new guy is like, he doesn't give communion to the cartel, and he doesn't, he's like, but hey, I get it, that's his job. So no one's gonna hurt him. He's like, but you can't just sleep with other people's wives. Come on.
So with the show, I guess when I watched the first episode, I sort of thought, I don't know, it was. I slogged through it, just forced myself to watch it, but I could sort of see something developing, like it could get interesting later on. And I think it was just like the storytelling, the scenery as well, and also the amazing acting from Jude Law that just propelled me to watch more of it. And I'm glad that I did, and have really enjoyed the show. And like all the later episodes did get much better. Just sadly the ending sort of ruined it for me.
Yeah, and I mean it felt like a cop out, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't know what they wanted to say or what was safe to say, so they kind of just gave you the did he die? Did he ascend to heaven? Did he just pass out because he was being so happy? I don't know.
I'm guessing if there is a second series in development that he's actually alive.
Is there?
Well, I read it on Wikipedia, which I know is not exactly accurate, but
oh yeah, I wrote that on there last week. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see if it was popular enough them wanting to do that, but I just assumed it was a one-shot deal. So
I don't think it's, I guess, like, you and I did watch it, and, but there's a lot of people that, after watching the first episodes, I imagine wouldn't have the patience for it, and
yeah,
it looks like the viewing figures sort of dropped off as well. I don't know about the UK, but in Italy, it's like the best rated pay TV show in Italy, and it started off with about 1 million viewers, but even then it dropped down to about half that by the next week.
What's the population of Italy?
I don't know.
It's not that big, yeah. I don't know if I would expect this to be popular in Italy or expect this to not be very popular. It's like a big international show about where you live. That's one thing, but I don't think a lot of Catholics would necessarily enjoy it. It's sort of thing to watch, but
60 million.
Oh, okay.
So almost
So that's kind of low.
the same size as the UK.
Yeah, so who produced this exactly? I mean, because like HBO built it as as HBO.
Oh no,
but we got it after everyone. So
well, it has 3 of the biggest broadcasters in the world that produced it. So it's co-produced by HBO, Sky, and Canal Plus, and that's another reason that I was really interested in it, because Canal Plus have produced some really great shows. Like Mason Close, they've done The Returned, then it's produced by Sky, of course, and also HBO. So it was shown in Italy first, then it was the UK, I think a few other countries, and then, of course, HBO did get it last.
Is HBO like a premium service over there for you guys still?
We don't have HBO, so...
No.
You
just get most of the shows on.
We get the shows on a channel
BBC
called
One or
Sky
something?
Atlantic,
Oh,
which is
okay,
a
so
pay
it's still
TV
on
show.
Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the Sky Atlantic channel that has a number of shows from HBO, Showtime, and sometimes they have their own original shows on there as well.
Yeah. No. Sometimes like other countries kind of get the best of it in some ways. Like here we have networks that produce various things, and then so we've got like CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, etc. And like I know, like when I lived in Canada, they had like CBC and there was only a few like main broadcast channels, but like they would have like a show from NBC next to a show from like they would just buy kind of what they wanted. So some shows didn't transfer over, but usually they had like all kind of the best shows. But it's like it was weird seeing like sometimes shows that are competing in America, like on the same network.
What sort of promotion was there for the show in America? Was there like Jay Leno or like any big?
I didn't really notice. I'm sure I'm sure he probably did the talk show circuit. I don't really pay attention to those anymore. But there wasn't a lot. I mean, there was about the first 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. There were a lot of ads like on the internet and stuff, and HBO pushed it a lot. Like I said, it's like about halfway into Westworld, there were teasers, and then after Westworld finished, it ramped up with more, young Pope, and they pushed it pretty hard on HBO because it was kind of the only thing they had going when it aired, right? I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't think anything else was any of their series were airing. Like HBO, let's see, what else do they have? I think is Girls back? Are people watching that?
The final season of Girls.
I think I'm a season behind on that. I heard it got good again.
I think I'm about two seasons behind.
Yeah, because whatever season it was, like I just couldn't watch it anymore, and people are like, no, it's gotten good again. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll work my way through it at some point. But yeah, I mean, what Game of Thrones were what? I mean, normally this would be, we're almost in Game of Thrones mode right now.
Oh yeah, we would have the trailer, we would have TV spots and everything.
It would just be 3 or 4 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
So now is it July or?
I think it's June now.
Word on that? June, July.
I think it's something like the 25th of June.
Yeah, so that's still a ways away. And we've got a lot of. Let's see, there was a fake Star Wars trailer yesterday. Yeah, I'm still trying to catch up on some of the Oscar movies. I watched most of them, but not all of them.
Oh, I've still not watched any of them.
Any of them?
No. Usually I would have about.
I watched the one that apparently no one watched, Captain Fantastic. Which I'm sure how that. I'm not like. It seems like literally no one watched that movie. It's one of those movies where you're like, how did it get nominations? Somebody really likes it. But sometimes, I don't know if you watch the Oscars or pay attention, but sometimes it does feel like they vote for things because they're like, I'm supposed to vote for that. And you're like, I know you all this. Those award ceremonies, they don't mean a lot. I mean, some years there's not really a lot of good competition. Or in some years, it's like, well, any of these movies could have these actors the Oscar. So, but I usually drift in and out, and this year, I couldn't believe the end there that actually happened. Like, I don't know how you do that, but
I'm still confused how it could happen.
I mean, when you look at the card and you see like Best Picture and like 8-point font down at the bottom, you're like, maybe that has something to do with it. You sent two people there that need reading glasses, and they were rightfully confused. So maybe the title of the award should be at the top in like big font, But like, I guess when you're on stage like that, you're an actor, you're used to you do stuff and everyone loves you and you just go with it. So she was like, oh, well, clearly this says La La Land, and just went with it. You're not used to being like, hold on a second, let me stop everything and go chat with someone else and make everything sound. So instead we got some real entertainment at the end. So
although for as long as the Oscars have existed, there's always been rumors about this presenter said the wrong name or they said the wrong movie, and usually when it's a really bad movie that no one can understand one. So this sort of like proves what would happen if that actually
wasn't that
happened.
Wasn't like the urban legend like Marissa Tomei or whatever?
Yes, Marissa Tomei, that's who I'm thinking of. I'm sure there have been movies that people say, oh, they just read the wrong movie, or they just said whatever was the first alphabetically or whatever.
And I guess, I don't know how the system works, and they'll have to have a different system with a different company now. But it's, because no one knows until the things are opened, until the envelopes are opened. So I guess they open, is there like a backup envelope or something? Because I guess the way this happened was there's an envelope on each side of the stage, and so they gave them the best actress envelope from the other side of the stage or something on accident. But you would think that when the one gets used, they would open the other one to like verify it, but I don't know. I guess whatever system they had worked up until now.
Well, this is a bit of a tangent, but it's an accounting firm that does it, and it's the same accounting firm as Police Scotland. So it could have ended up with Police Scotland winning the Best Actress award.
I didn't know they were involved with Police Scotland. I mean, I know of the company PwC.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're an accounting firm, and I think they're still going to be doing like work for the Oscars, but they're not going to be handling the ballots anymore.
I once applied for them, and I'm sure if I got that job, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
you would have been on top of it. Yeah. Anything? Let's see. Anything else? You were mentioning Broadchurch is back.
Oh yeah, Broadchurch. It's really, well, I mean, I know people are always saying that they hated series 2, but I did really like season 2. So yeah, I've liked all episodes. This one's a bit different because it's not a murder, it's a rape that they're investigating.
So I mean, I really enjoyed the first season series, and then there was that very unique thing of them airing like an American version like right away.
Oh yeah.
With David Tennant in it, so I had a fun time watching like back to back, and then kind of comparing. And I mean, some of it's shot for shot the same. The ending was very different. But so I was like, I think I watched the first episode of the second season, and then I had to pirate it, and I just was like, I just didn't get around to doing it because I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was like, I'll download the episode some other time. I just never did. So I didn't watch the second series. I didn't get turned off by it. I just it's one of those back burner things.
The American one was called Whitechapel, wasn't it? Or maybe it was...
No. What was the American one?
There is a show called Whitechapel, but I can't remember what the American version was called.
Grace Point, I think.
Yeah, Grace Point. Yeah, you're.
Grace Point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, it wasn't Broadchurch, but. But yeah, that was just as a product, having the same actor playing the same role basically right away in the shows made for two different countries. I don't know. I thought it was. I mean, it was kind of a showcase for David Tennant, I guess. But I liked it. I mean, I definitely liked the British version better of the show, but I don't know if I would have even watched the American version. Like, let's say if they had a different actor, I probably wouldn't have even watched it. So
I did watch a few episodes of it, but I didn't finish it.
yeah, they changed the ending. I can't remember it now, but like they made the ending completely different.
Another great show that's been on recently and is now finished is Taboo.
I never liked that. I did give it the first episode a chance, but I just couldn't get into it.
Oh, you gotta, man. You gotta give it a couple episodes. I don't know. It's Tom Hardy's just chewing that scenery. It's great. I haven't finished it. I'm a couple episodes behind, but yeah, it's just like just his performance alone is entertainment enough for me to watch. Like, despite what else going on, and then that beach where like all the dead bodies keep showing up, man. Like, what the heck? Why would you go there?
Money.
What?
Money.
Yeah, I suppose.
I did watch this British show. I'm not sure if it's on PBS, Adam, but it's called Halcyon. So it's set in a hotel,
No, I haven't heard of it.
set during the 1940s, and just about they're going for the Downton Abbey angle, and that's like part of the advertisements, like the new Downton Abbey, but it has sort of fallen short of that.
We have what if we had? I saw on PBS the other day. It looked interesting. Victoria, Jenna Coleman.
Oh yeah, that was
Queen Victoria.
That was on a few months ago.
Yeah, I think it's like wrapping up here now.
Yeah, I did watch that, and I enjoyed that. That's coming back for a second series as well.
Is it? Yeah, I gotta see if I can find that online or something. I feel like I saw it on like Hulu or Netflix, maybe. But yeah, so you were saying that like maybe they're doing a second season of Young Pope, like that's what Wikipedia says anyway.
Oh, Young Pope series 2. I think they actually named a producer that confirmed it as well. Oh yeah, it's on Hollywood Reporter.
Weird. So what are they gonna? I guess the ending makes a bit more sense if they're gonna continue on with another series, because they, like I said, they clearly just didn't really know the message they wanted to send, other than kind of like a love everybody and be kind type sort of message. But like they didn't really know what they wanted to do with the character or what direction that they wanted him to go in, I think. So if you just kind of abruptly end it like that, you can kind of do whatever you want when you pick it back up again.
Okay, I'm going to swap over to the Logan one now. Do either of you want me to put you on that chat?
No, it's okay. Thanks for joining, Jock.
Yeah, you can add me in there. I'll probably pop in.
Okay. See you.
Okay, thanks, Jock.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Yeah, so have you talked to Bina about this show much, or?
Well, I had said to her about doing the podcast, and she wanted to do a podcast on it, but then she went off on her hiatus.
Took her break.
Which she's breaking tonight, but...
Yeah, I know, right? She's over there. She's like, I have to talk about this. But I feel like, I don't know, because she seems so gung-ho on it, but it was like in the middle of airing, I think. I think it was maybe before she watched the finale. So
yeah, she was into it, but then she was also in our mindset as well about, like, she didn't get it, and she was sort of like confused with the show. She posted a lot of things on Facebook, just asking her friends, like, what's the point of this show? Some of
that. Like what exactly? What are they doing? They could have, I don't know, they could have been controversial and risky. I mean, they were already kind of, in a way, and made some interesting statements, or they could have just like actually brought in some old school, just straight up intrigue, and we could have played Vatican politics a lot more than we did. Like all of the people like behind the scenes running the Vatican seemed very like, oh, we're up to stuff, but like we're all shut down pretty easily. So like none of them were too nefarious at the end of the day, or effective, I guess. I did like all of the little the cardinals and stuff scheming in the background, like how are we gonna get rid of him, and like maybe we kill him, and, he's young, he's gonna outlive us all. Like no, we'll do a scandal. It was like, I mean, it was almost slapstick at times because, like I said, it was very ineffective. And then like they couldn't commit to it fully, and yeah. But then like you have scenes where when he finally went like addressed all the cardinals and he's making them kiss the papal feet, and like you're like, oh, stuff's about to happen. I don't know. He just makes some weird decrees and his brother dies, and dang kangaroo died too.
I forgot about that kangaroo.
I feel like that was like symbolic, because the kangaroo, and he kind of like was the kangaroo whisperer, and then it wasn't listening, and it was kind of maybe listening, and then like when things kind of went to shit, it died. So the kangaroo kind of seemed to follow what was going on with him, maybe in a way. But I don't know. It was a lot of beautiful imagery. There was a lot of a lot of great performances, and I don't know. Like if there's a season 2, I would probably wait a few episodes in and see how it's going. check in and read a couple episodes synopsis first.
Yeah, I think I would watch the first episode, but then I might wait a while before I start watching it again. So sort of like Fortitude just now. So I watched series 1, but didn't really enjoy it that much, but sort of felt like I've watched this much, so I may as well finish the rest of it.
You're pot committed.
Yeah.
So
like sometimes when you start a show and you've watched 5 episodes, that you feel like you have to finish.
Yeah.
What you started.
I know that. It's like I don't. I'm like growing up. It's like I always hated like starting a movie and not being able to finish it because it was bedtime. So it's like I hate not finishing movies and stuff. But yeah, with TV shows, it's like I had to learn, like, because there were some shows that I'm like, well, like bad shows from like the early 2000s or the 90s or something, where I was like, well, I've already watched like 100 episodes of this, and it just keeps going. And you're like, you can just not watch it anymore. There are better, like, there wasn't as much quality TV like there is nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes though, I think the more common scenario for me seems to be like I find a show and I watch it and it's canceled after one season, and you're like, oh, are you kidding me? The show was so good, but no one watched it. So, but I've had, there's a bunch of shows that I tried to follow, and then it was on my DVR, and I changed cable companies, or I had it expired on Netflix, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'm just not gonna catch up with it anymore, and then it actually kind of feels good to let it go. Like, and I'll just go online and read what happened at the end, and then if it sounds interesting, like I'm the guy. That sometimes if a book is disappointing, I'll go and like read the synopsis, or maybe like peek at the last chapter at the store to see if I want to buy the next book. Go and see like, okay, this is it's going somewhere, so I'll read the story. I don't mind spoilers so much. I just don't like wasting my time, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like you can't spoil a proper story. And any story that is reliant on, a surprise or a shock or a twist to make it good is not really all that good in the first place. So when someone talks about, spoilers going around the internet and, oh, well, now I can't watch that movie because I know the thing. And I'm like, well, was that the only thing the movie had to offer? Because if so, then it's not worth watching anyway.
Sometimes the fun is getting to what you already knew would happen.
Yeah, and the best part too is like I don't know how many times I've read something and been like, oh man, that's what happens, and then I see it or I read the book and I'm like, oh, this is how that, like my mind had, it might as well, like I'd never heard it because my mind had something completely different based on the 2 sentences I read, right? Like I know, like going into Logan, I had seen a friend of mine posted something and I was like, what? And it, like, yeah, had nothing to do with anything in the movie really. So, I don't know. It's the way everyone is. They're kind of vague these days, right?
Yeah.
And, well, I'm going to tell you the spoiler, but not really tell it to you. Or, like, I don't know.
Or they might just make up this fake spoiler and
Oh, yeah.
they're actually being really nice.
Yeah, there's enough of that going around. I'm a jerk about that sometimes with people too, you know. But like as a kid, like my dad, we'd go to movies sometimes, and you know, like we'd leave the theater, and you know, you don't see it so much these days, but there'd be like a line of people outside waiting for the movie for the next showing or something, right? And like sometimes you find that at theaters, but he would always like to be like, oh, I can't believe this, whatever happened, you know, which, you know, just like pretending he was talking really loudly to us, and usually it was fake, you know. Like, oh, I can't believe Captain Kirk died. oh, no, but there's that one movie he did actually die, so, you know. But yeah, people would give him angry looks and stuff. It was like, oh man, it's like internet trolling before the internet. You actually had to risk someone punching you, right? Like, I don't know.
Can you believe, do you ever visit IMDb?
Yeah.
They've taken away the message boards.
Oh, really? Like under each post, like all of the...
Yeah.
Huh. You know...
I used to use it a lot when I was 15, 16, but sort of
yeah.
fell away from that. But then, like, occasionally I would go on there and watch a movie, and then I would go to the IMDb, see what people are saying. So, watched Miss Peregrine's Home of Peculiar Children, and
Was
went
that
to the
good?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it did really well
I read the book
overseas,
as well.
so... Oh, okay.
I watched, I knew about the movie, then read the book, then watched the movie once it came out on DVD, and enjoyed it, but it could have been a bit shorter.
Oh, it was
and it
kind
would
of
have
long.
been better.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on HBO now. I've been like debating.
Oh, right, yeah. But that's when I discovered that IMDb boards no more.
They're just all gone. Man, like a lot of places are getting rid of comments, and like forums and message boards used to be where you did everything. And now it's Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and a lot of that stuff is just sort of disappearing.
That's why I always love the actual comments. So when I'm reading a online newspaper article, I always like to go to the comments to see what they're saying about it.
It depends on what the article is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, if you go to anything like politically controversial or whatever, and the comments can be fun, but don't wade into them, right?
Yeah.
It's a million people saying something ridiculous and a million people trying to tell them they're saying something ridiculous.
Or sometimes they're just saying it's 500 people saying the exact same thing, so you get annoyed after the 10th time of reading the same thing.
Over and over and over. But I mean, it's like our YouTube comments sometimes on our videos are like, sometimes they're really, like, they don't have anything to do with the video. But I mean, at least usually with ours, it's like you've got 10 or 20 comments and it's pretty easy to read through, and maybe you get some useful feedback in between, you know, people being assholes.
Or sometimes they just start saying, you know, talking about the favourite character, and it's like, what has that got to do with this video on chapter?
Yeah, this review was so cool. I'm really such a big fan of Arya, and remember that one time on the show and you're like, we didn't even cover an Arya chapter this time. But I mean, that's what the comment sections are for, and it's great that, like, you know, anyone even pays attention, right? So
it is.
it's cool. I mean, because there are people out there that are, you know, starving for content, and, you know, thankfully they feel like popping by our little piece of the internet. So, but as long as they're nice. I've had to delete a few comments.
Oh, from YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Like, just like, you know what? No thanks. But I mean, like, I don't delete the ones where they're like, you guys, you know, need to get better microphones, or like, you know, they're complaining. They're like complaining about silly stuff, like, how come there's no video and there's no professional microphone, and you know, with all the money I'm paying you guys, you could put on a better production. Like, wait, what? You know? Yeah. But anyway, I guess let's see. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I guess if you do Logan, that's of course a podcast you're doing next. But any other podcasts that you're planning to do?
Let's see. I've got a reread to organize. in the next few weeks, I think. I have to check the schedule on that again. So that'll be coming up soon. I think most of the rereads are getting up on YouTube now, and we're getting caught up. There was kind of a bit of a break just with everything there. There's that second part of The Hobbit that's been recorded forever that I keep intending to put out. I edited it once, and I'm like an hour into editing it again, so it'll probably be done sometime next year. Yeah, no, that'll probably actually be up sometime in the next couple weeks. Yeah, with an apology, I'm sure. But yeah, we got rereads, and there's a whole bunch of CTAs on the forum, but I haven't paid too much attention as to what's actually happening with some of those. So.
I should have asked Jock that as well. He was planning to do a Discworld episode, I think. But I don't know if that actually got anywhere, because I would be interested to listen to that.
Yeah, I never read those, so they sound interesting. But Greg's doing a book club on what was it? I started reading it. Like It Could Never Happen Here. Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Hannah, who abandoned this podcast in its hour of need,
she was so over it. she poked us.
Yep. I just think thankfully you decided to join as well, but we waited months so that she could join this podcast.
And then we overshot, and then because I think Bina was wanting to do it right after the premiere
That's right, after it finished
the finale
in the UK.
Premiered. Yeah, and just be just review the season or whatever, and then she was like, I saw the premiere, we can wait, or I saw the finale, we can wait. No urgency. Yeah, but anyway, so it was good.
I would rate it as a 3.5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lemon cakes. I don't know. I would I guess I would give it a 2.5 overall, because of, and most of that is the power of the acting and just the set and costume design, and all of that was done very well. Yeah. I think it just really, and maybe it's not the show's fault. Maybe it's the way it was advertised, because it was definitely pushed as something different in all of the promos. So I guess maybe that leads to a bit more of a disappointment factor, at least for me.
Yeah, it has been disappointing, because on paper it looks amazing, or sounds amazing, with all these people involved with it. I imagine they spent a lot of money on it, and A-list actors that are involved, Oscar-winning caliber involved in the show, and all these big broadcasters involved in production as well. But I think it's, initially it was disappointing, but then it got good, but then it got disappointing in the end, so bookended by disappointment.
Yeah. It's, yeah. Much like the real Pope. No, I don't know. I like I said in the beginning, I think that someone had a concept and they had a pitch meeting of the first episode or two, and it's crazy, and someone was like, yeah, I'm sold, let's do this, it's going to be amazing, and they didn't really have the rest of the idea thought out, or maybe they wanted to do something the budget wouldn't allow, or I'm trying to think of why it went the way it did, but I don't know, it had enough kind of beautiful moments in it to make it was worth watching. So yeah,
and if I'm hoping it does come back for a second series, and I will watch that. But thankfully, it does give us a break to just digest what we've watched, and give our brains a rest until it does come back. Whereas something like Westworld, I enjoyed that so much more, and I would watch that if it came back tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is one of those that like if 2 years from now you have another series, like then it's a bit more interesting. But Westworld, like I got to get me to Samurai Land like right away. like, yeah, I'm into that. But that's another show. We'll see where they take it. Hopefully somewhere good.
Sadly, we have to wait 2 years until that comes back.
Yeah, well, they got to do it right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to hop off here and grab some dinner. And then I might pop in and see if they're still talking on the other side.
Oh, no doubt they will.
Probably.
Okay, well, thanks for listening, everyone.
thanks.
And thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Let me know if you need my recording later.
Oh, yeah, I will.